Hello, everyone. My name is Karen Allen. Welcome to Adventures in Dolls, the United Federation of Doll Clubs YouTube channel. Today, our program is Cissette's Fashion Journey. It's presented by Diane McCarthy. She is a UFDC member. I think you're really going to enjoy this program. If you have a comment, please leave it in the comment section. And don't forget to like and subscribe. So you don't miss your next adventure in dolls. And now let's get to the video.
Cissette's Fashion Journey. Vintage Cissette. Cissette was 10 inches tall and created in response to the popularity of the miniature fashion dolls in 1957. She was designed to compete with Jill, Little Miss Revlon, Tony, Little Miss Ginger, and many others. She was a shadow of Sissy, hence the name Cissette, and many of her clothes were smaller versions of Sissy's outfits. Cissette had her own 12-page booklet, Madame Alexander Presents Cissette, which showcased Cissette in 37 outfits on dress dolls. Many of these also came as boxed outfits. The booklet was inside Cissette's box, like a mini wish book, so little girls could see what other outfits were available for their doll. Cissette was billed as a debutante doll, so she had very few activity clothes. There was a Bermuda short set and the Toreador set of black pants, lace top, and wide sash that came in a variety of colors, a suitable outfit for entertaining at home. Most of her dresses were waisted with full skirts with lots of details and matching accessories. All of Cissette's outfits were tagged, but not on all items. The tag was usually in the back of the dress at the neckline, but could also be found in the seam of the skirt. Cissette's clothing, like the other dolls, was made of high-quality materials and fit her perfectly. The seams and hems were finished, the bodices lined and contained bodice darts. Madame Alexander made many sister sets for Lissy, Sissy, Cissette, Elise, and sometimes even with Wendy. In 1958, the Junior League outfit seen here was also made for Elise and Sissy. In 1958, Cissette had 23 new outfits that came on dolls as well as boxed outfits. Included every year was a bride, queen, and ballerina, although in 1958 the ballerina was not pictured in the catalog or box brochure. By 1959, the number of outfits for Alexander fashion dolls began to diminish. Sissy had 3 new outfits on dress dolls and 8 outfits. Elise had 7 on a dress doll and an additional 8 as boxed outfits. The gold ballerina was sold both ways. Cissette had only 8 new outfits, and they all came on the doll or in boxed outfits. In 1960, Barbie was taking the doll world by storm, and the Alexander Company was looking for a way to compete with her. There were noticeable differences in Cissette's wardrobe beginning in 1960. There was a queen, bride, and ballerina outfit, as there had been in the previous years, and then 2 new long gowns and 2 new street dresses. The dress bodices no longer had darts and were not lined. The boxed outfits, of which there were many, but not nearly as many with accessories. Occasionally, a hat would be included with the dress, but there were no longer underwear, jewelry, or shoes. In 1961, Cissette came dressed in a swimsuit instead of a chemise or slip. She had 8 new outfits that came on a doll and boxed outfits. As in 1960, there were additional boxed outfits in a more casual design. "1961 brought Margot into the company line to compete with Barbie. Margot was a more mature doll than Cissette and had a beehive hairstyle. She was also dressed in a bikini instead of a one-piece swimsuit like Cissette. She had her own separate wardrobe, all tagged Margot. She had 8 outfits that had a more formal and elegant feel. For 1962, Alexander tried another version of Cissette, this time Jacqueline based on Jacqueline Kennedy. Another change from previous years was the tags for both dolls said Madame Alexander instead of Cissette or Jacqueline. Cissette had 5 new outfits, as did Jacqueline, in addition to Cissette as a ballerina, queen, and bride. Both Margot and Jacqueline were only made for 1 year. 1963 was the final year for Cissette in the company line. She had a total of 10 outfits, 7 of them new, along with a trousseau set. The bride, queen, ballerina, and one of the long gowns came with the traditional hairstyles. There was again a Gibson girl that had a beehive hairstyle and outfit change from 1962. The rest of the Cissette wigs were a bubble cut. Cissette as a debutante was in the Alexander line from 1957 through 1963 and was the most popular fashion doll until 1960 when the sales started to decline due to Barbie. In the late 1960s, she was used for the Portrait series, and she was also one of the Sound of Music characters in 1969. But Cissette as a debutante fashion doll was essentially retired until 1997. In 1968, inspired by the many requests for smaller reproductions of her popular 21-inch portrait dolls, Madame Alexander created a miniature portrait doll using the Cissette sculpt. The first year, 6 dolls were made, and the series was named Portraits. They came in a gold and maroon shadow box with the doll's name appearing at the bottom. The dolls were tagged on the back of the dress with the doll's name. These are the first 6 portrait dolls that were produced in 1968. Clockwise from the top left, they are Southern Belle and Agatha, Godey and Melinda, and Scarlett and Renoir. In 1969, Jenny Lind replaced Agatha in the Portrait series, but the stock number 1171 remained the same. There were changes to the styles of the outfits of the other dolls as well, but the names and numbers were the same. For 1970, all the numbers were updated to 80s from 70s. Even if the doll was still part of the series, the updated numbers were different. As an example, Godey was number 1172 in 1968 and in 1969. In 1970, Godey was now number 1183. There were also design changes on the outfit, and Melinda's name was changed to Melanie. The dolls for 1969 and 1970 were basically the same, except in 1969, Melinda's dress was pink with 10 rows of lace, and in 1970, Melanie's dress was yellow with 7 rows of lace. The Godeys in the pink outfits are from 1970 and they're number 1183. The yellow Godey is number 1172 from 1969. Here are the Southern Belles from 1969 through 1971. The styles are essentially the same with the exception of the color of the ribbon at the waist and the style of the hats. 1970 was the last year of 6 dolls in the Portrait series. In 1971 there were 2, Scarlett and Southern Belle. In 1972 a queen was added, number 1186. 1973 was the last year for the initial Portrait series, and the numbers again changed to 1180 for Scarlett, 1184 for Southern Belle, and 1187 for the Queen. The return of the Portrait series in 1987 was described in the Alexander catalog as follows. Dressed in the style of Victorian and Edwardian eras, these little ladies bring back the romance of the past, for it was during these periods that it was the very height of fashion to be named after the most popular flowers. Many years ago, the Portraits were one of our most sought-after dolls, and once again, they have come to life. The face with its delicate beauty, the costumes with rich materials, laces, veiled hats, and elaborate hairdos create the most elegant of fashion images. In 1988, the description for the Portrait series changed to allow for an expansion of the line. Fashionably attired in styles that capture the spirit of a special time or special personality, these dolls are the essence of femininity Imaginative detail enhances their captivating individuality. In 1991, there were 15 portraits in the Alexander line. The dolls represented works of literature, historical characters, as well as fashion. Some of these dolls were only in the line for 1 year, while many others were repeated. Over the next 4 years, the number of portrait dolls was reduced. There were 13 in 1992, 9 in 1993, and 8 in 1994. Coco number 1140 was one of the most popular and was part of the series from 1989 through 1992. Alexander made a special doll for the I. Magnin stores, Miss Magnin, from 1991 through 1993. The edition was $2,500. Also in 1991, a factory-altered doll, Autumn in New York, was made using the portrait Gibson Girl number 1124, made from 1988 through 1990. It was for the first Modern Doll Club, which is a New York doll club, and came in edition of 260. The fur cape muff skates were added, and the hat was changed to a fur one from a black straw one. 1994 was the final year for the portrait series. The History of Fashion collection was introduced in 2005. Marie Antoinette, Josephine, Cleopatra, Lady Godiva, and Lady Jane Grey were the first dolls issued in this series. The fashions were historical representations of the fashions of the time. Each doll came with an artist illustration of the design, a description of the fashion, and a brief biography of the person. The collection continued annually until 2015. The original Lady Godiva was an 11th century noblewoman married to Leofric, the powerful Earl of Mercia and Lord of Coventry. As the story goes, Godiva was troubled by the crippling taxes Leofric had levied on the citizens of Coventry. After she repeatedly asked him to lessen the burden, Leofric quipped that he would lower taxes only if she rode naked on horseback through the center of town. Determined to help the public, Godiva stripped off her clothes, climbed on her horse, and galloped through the market square with only her long flowing hair to cover herself. Before leaving, she ordered the people of Coventry to remain inside their homes and not peek, but one man named Tom couldn't resist opening his window to get an eyeful. Upon doing so, this peeping Tom was struck blind. After finishing her naked ride, Godiva confronted her husband and demanded that he hold up his end of the bargain. True to his word, Leofric reduced the people's debts. Lady Jane Grey was the cousin of King Edward VI and named as heir in his will in order to avoid England's return to Catholicism. She was crowned queen but only for 9 days and deposed by Edward's half-sister Mary Tudor. Jane and her husband were imprisoned in the Tower of London and were later executed as a threat to the throne. Grace O'Malley is one of the famous pirates of all time. From the age of 11, she forged a career in seafaring and piracy and was considered a fierce leader at sea and a shrewd politician on land. She successfully defended the independence of her territories at a time when much of Ireland fell under the English rule and is still considered today the Pirate Queen of Ireland. Veronica Franco was an Italian poet and courtesan in 16th century Venice. She was known for her noble clientele, feminist advocacy, literary contributions, and philanthropy. Her humanist education and cultural contributions influenced the roles of courtesans in the late Venetian Renaissance. She studied and sought patrons among the learned, and by the 1570s was part of one of the most prestigious literary circles. Lucrezia Borgia was the daughter of Rodrigo Borgia, who later became Pope Alexander VI. Her family later came to epitomize the ruthlessness of Machiavellian politics and sexual corruption alleged to be characteristics of the Renaissance papacy. She was married 3 times, a femme fatale who may have participated in the schemes of her father and brother to advance their ambitions. It is rumored Lucrezia had a hollow gold ring that she used frequently to poison drinks. Catherine the Great was a German princess who married Prince Karl Peter Ulrich, heir to the throne of Russia, who became Emperor Peter III. In June 1762, Catherine participated in a coup against her husband and became Russia's autocratic ruler. Russia's territory was extended during her reign by the acquisition of southern Ukraine and the Crimea. St. Petersburg was considered to be one of the most impressive European capitals under Catherine. Born Georgiana Spencer, Georgiana Cavendish, Duchess of Devonshire, was an English socialite, political organizer, style icon, author, and activist. Of noble birth from the Spencer family, married into the Cavendish family, she was the first wife of William Cavendish, 5th Duke of Devonshire, and the mother of the 6th Duke of Devonshire. In addition, she had a love for gambling and was deeply in debt when she died. She was painted by Thomas Gainsborough in a painting with a large, fashionable black hat, which became known as the Gainsborough portrait hat. Georgiana was the great-great-great-great-aunt of Diana, Princess of Wales. Empress Josephine Bonaparte was Empress of France while married to Napoleon from 1804 through 1809. She was briefly imprisoned during the French Revolution. Josephine held a prominent position in all social affairs during the time they were married. Even though they were divorced in 1809, Napoleon never truly stopped loving her. Louise Elizabeth Vigée-Lebrun was a Rococo French painter recognized as the most famous female painter of the 18th century. She was the daughter of artist and fan painter Louis Vigée, and by the time she was a teenager, she was painting portraits professionally. She was invited to paint Marie Antoinette and during 6 years painted over 30 portraits of the Queen and her family. Vigée-Lebrun became a public and controversial figure who thrived as an independent, self-supporting artist in a time period where it was uncommon for a female. Amelia Bloomer came from modest means and only had a few years of formal schooling. However, her husband asked her to write for his newspaper, and later she created her own paper, The Lily, that was the first paper written for and about women. Amelia was a women's rights activist and adopted the frilly trousers that came to be named after her as a statement against the discomfort of women's clothing at the time. Nellie Bly was born Elizabeth Jane Cochran, a pioneer in the field of investigative journalism who was famous for her writing which focused on social problems and the abuse of the downtrodden, especially women and children. Nellie Bly was her pen name. In November 1889, Bly attempted to beat the record of the fictitious character Phineas Fogg, who went around the world in 80 days, with support, reluctantly, from her employer, the New York World. She traveled alone, taking only a small piece of luggage, and made the trip through Brindisi, the Suez Canal, Ceylon, the Straits of Settlements of Penang, Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan, San Francisco, and back to New York in 72 days. Edith Wharton was born Edith Newbold Jones of New York City and grew up with all the benefits and rules of high society. She was well educated and as a young girl made up stories, which led to her career as a writer during a time when it was not popular for women to leave the home, which she did, moving to Paris. She aided the Allied troops during World War I and after the war published numerous novels. She was the first woman to win the Pulitzer Prize for Literature for The Age of Innocence. Guests to her home included Ernest Hemingway, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Henry James, and Teddy Roosevelt. Clara Gordon Bow was an American actress who rose to stardom during the silent film era of the 1920s and successfully made the transition to talkies in 1929. Her appearance as a plucky shop girl in the film It brought her global fame and the nickname The It Girl. She was the first actress to flaunt her sex appeal, becoming known for her flapper roles. Her last role was at age 28 when she married and moved to Nevada to raise a family. These are two more recent editions showcasing Cissette's amazing fashions. No wonder she's such a clothes horse. The Sassette on the left is Shall We Dance, the banquet centerpiece doll from the 2016 convention held in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She is dressed in a short, sequined and lace, deep purple mini dress. The design was inspired by the show Dancing with the Stars. The doll on the right is Boots and Bling, the banquet centerpiece for the 2015 convention held in Dallas, Texas. She is dressed in denim blue jeans with a black top. She has leather, fringed chaps with a turquoise and rhinestone band. Her fancy brown leather boots have decorative turquoise accents, and her black hat has a turquoise and rhinestone hatband. Turquoise jewelry complete the look. The following sources were used in preparing this program. A very special thanks to Ruth Kuczynski for the use of her portrait dolls for this program. The end.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed Cissette's Fashion Journey by Diane McCarthy. We want to send a special thank you to her. We most certainly appreciate her support. And we'd like you to become a UFDC member. We could use your support. The membership is $43 a year if you're a member at large. And you can also join an online club or a local club if you'd like to become a member, and I think you should. Go to ufdc.org and fill out the form, and when you do, be sure you tell them Karen sent you. Thanks so much for watching. Sincerely, we appreciate your support. Have a great day. Be safe. Be careful. And we'll see you next time.